I believe it was revolutionary for a number of different reasons and not just one in particular. For the first part, this was the first time in a Zelda game we actually saw some cutscenes that featured in-game graphics, and they looked really good at the time too. It also featured the Z lock-on targeting feature, which made combat in an action-adventure game like this a much easier time to play through. And on a side note, this was probably the first Zelda game to let you have 3 items at once instead of just 1.
What I think made the game revolutionary was the gameplay, because it was probably kind of new, more than other games, and also the graphics.
It's music and graphics, I would say. That's about what I'd say would make it stand out.
Revolutionary was sort of in my opinion, the gameplay was just very addicting and fun, and there's also lots of places to explore, lots of things to do. That's really all I have to say about it, what made it revolutionary.
Alright, well, obviously this game revolutionized the gaming system, and everybody always says that. But this game was really the platformer that Nintendo based all of its future ideas for any type of its 3D gaming consoles. It was really the first one that had an item system, a really in-depth item system, where you upgrade your character by getting more items. And this is attractive to this game, is because of all the different variety of items that you can get in the game. And the songs, everybody likes the songs too that you play with your Ocarina, and they all have different points that allow you that you need to use in order to get through the game. And it's just that the originality of the item system is why this game is so good. Plus, the levels and majority of the dungeons and all of the dungeons and all the side quests and everything, basically every part of this game, they took so much time and effort to put so much data into this revolutionary adventure game that it doesn't get old no matter how many times you play it. You're gonna run into something new eventually, some kind of new occurrence, something that you go in, because there's so much variety, so many different ways you can take it.
Looking back over it, I would have to say my favorite dungeon would have to go to the Forest Temple when you're an adult. Why? Well, it is confusing at first, I'll have to admit to that, but once you get the bow and arrow, you'll understand it a lot clearer and everything becomes more open. They've also implemented a lot of great different ideas into it, such as finding the pose, having the twisted hallways, and even having the ceiling come down on you. It was really one of those dungeons where a lot of different things were going on at once. And the music was kinda creepy, but in a good way.
Forest Temple
It's my favorite one, really. I mean, because I can't really think, the other dungeons, to be honest, I didn't hate them, I just thought they were pretty good and all, but, just not one of my favorites. I only had one favorite dungeon, to be honest, in my opinion.
My favorite dungeon was the Fire Temple because you had to explore thoroughly more than other dungeons.
My favorite dungeon is the Shadow Temple, and I feel like the Shadow Temple has the greatest variety of every aspect of the game. And I believe that the Eye of Truth, which is the item that lets you see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see without it, helps in aiding this a lot, because some of the enemies are normally invisible and you're always jumping at every turn, you don't really know what to... A bunch of new puzzles that you haven't seen before in the game, not knowing where anything's going to be. And it's the Eye of Truth, this item, that aspect that makes this dungeon stand out in my opinion. There's a perfect average of every single type of, every single variety of obstacle you can get involved with, whether it's enemies. There's plenty of enemies that like fall from the ceiling, or those skeleton guys with the swords. I'm personally a fan of those. And whether it's obstacles, just really tough things you have to get around, whether it's falling into the bottom of a pit, which are everywhere, or especially in this dungeon, are extremely enjoyable because they work your mind while still keeping you into the game as far as action takes place. But another thing that adds to the aspect of this temple is the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this temple is just simply incredible. It just adds to the shadowy illusion. Kind of like Steven Spielberg's The Shining. No, never, I'm sorry, that's not Steven Spielberg. Stephen King's The Shining. The temple sort of reminds me of that movie and that book, because you never really know what to expect, and there's a wide variety of everything.
The Water Temple has to be the second worst dungeon ever put in a Zelda game. Right after the Stone Temple from Majora's Mask. Why was this one so bad? Well, it was huge. There were plenty of different places to get lost. Sometimes you didn't know if you had the right key. You had to keep draining the water level up and down. And you even had to keep pausing just so you can switch between your iron boots and your regular boots just so you can go to the water. That was annoying.
My least favorite dungeon was the Water Temple, because you had to go back and forth switching the water levels.
In older Link, when you go into the future Link, you have to go back to the Water Temple of the Zora, and it's very hard, to be honest. Because there's so many puzzles you have to do, and...
My least favorite would have to be the Shadow Dungeon, because I found it difficult and tedious.
I feel the least favorite dungeon is always the Water Temple, but I actually like that one. It's a complete puzzle temple, and I just find it's a nice change from the other ones. My least favorite temple is actually the Forest Temple, the first one when you're an adult, because for some reason I always get lost every single time trying to find one of the ghosts. I think it's the third one, but it's just that when you're going through that temple, some of the rooms look exactly the same. Some of them are actually the same room that you seem to be entering through opposite sides of the temple. It's a little bit repetitive to me, and because I always get stuck, I also have this vivid hearing of the music. The music's not bad, but after hearing it for like 30 minutes, unlike the other soundtracks in the game, it just gets on my nerves. Overall, I like some of the puzzles in the game. Actually, the third ghost puzzle with the blocks, I'm a fan of that, but just it seems repetitive.